If you're pouring your heart into your podcast, but still struggling to turn those listeners into paying clients, I've got something just for you. Imagine having a clear, simple plan to turn your listeners into buyers without relying on a huge audience or spending hours on social media. That's exactly what we'll create together in a podcast profit plan discovery call. During this free 20-minute call, I'll help you discover more opportunities for profit in your podcast and give you the next best step to turn your show into a client attracting machine. If I've got an offer that will help you expedite this process, then we can also discuss working together. Book your free podcast profit plan discovery call now by going to podcastingformoms.co/profit plan or by clicking the link in the show notes. I can't wait to chat with you. Let me say something that might sting a little bit, but in a very loving way. Most mom podcasters don't struggle because of inconsistency. They don't struggle because they're bad at podcasting. And they're definitely not struggling because they started their podcast too late. So the real reason that most mom podcasters don't see results is because they're doing all the things. And they're doing all the things without a system that actually supports the season that they're in. And if you've ever thought, I'm putting out episodes, so why does this still feel hard? Or I really love my podcast, but it's not really doing anything for my business, then this episode's for you. Let's get into it. Welcome to Podcasting for Moms, the show for moms in business ready to start, grow, and scale a podcast that turns their listeners into buyers. I'm Jenny Sonneson, a podcast strategist and fellow mom entrepreneur. You're in the right place if you want to learn how to start and grow a podcast that attracts your ideal clients and really does the heavy lifting for you when it comes to selling your offers, all while balancing life as a busy mom. Are you ready to create a podcast that grows your income, impact, and influence? Let's make podcasting work for you, because as moms, we know how to get things done. All right, let's jump into the episode. Welcome to Podcasting for Moms, the place for mom podcasters who want to build profitable, sustainable, lead-generating podcasts in part-time hours. I'm your host, Jenny, and around here we do podcasting without burnout, without hustle, and without pretending that we have unlimited time or energy because, well, we don't. So let's get into it. So here's the truth that most people won't say out loud. Most mom podcasters are doing enough. The problem here isn't effort or commitment or even consistency. The problem is that most podcasts are built like passion projects, but expected to perform like sales systems. And those two things, they're not the same. So let's dive in. So let's dive into the content. So most podcasts are created without a clear job. So I want you to ask yourself one question. What is my podcast actually supposed to do for my business? Not what do I want to talk about today or what do I feel inspired to record today, but is this podcast meant to generate leads or build trust before a sale or warm up my audience for an offer or move people into my email list, a wait list, or a paid container? Most mom podcasters skip this step and they feel frustrated when their show feels like a lot of work with very little return. I want to say that your podcast doesn't need to do everything. It just needs to do one thing well. The second thing that a lot of mom podcasters struggle with is that most moms are podcasting like they have unlimited time. And listen, this is not a mindset issue. This is just a reality issue. Most podcast strategies are built for creators who aren't recording during nap time, or they don't lose work days to sick kids, and they don't need their business to actually make money. But as a mom, you cannot afford a podcast that requires constant content creation, needs daily promotion, or depends on being everywhere to work. If your podcast strategy doesn't respect your time, energy, or your real life, then it's always going to feel heavy. Sustainable podcasts are built around systems, not pressure. The third thing that podcasters struggle with is that their podcast isn't connected to a bigger ecosystem. So this is a really big one. So if your podcast exists on an island, it has no clear next step, no intentional call to action, no connection to your offers, it is just going to stay a visibility tool, not a business asset. So every episode should gently answer one question for your listener. And that is, what do I do next if I want more support? That might be joining your email list, downloading a free resource, booking a call, or stepping into a paid offer. You just need to connect them somewhere. You need to send them somewhere. You can just be like, thanks so much for listening to this episode. I'll see you next week. And not give them any details on how to get further into your funnel or work with you further. So I want to reframe this. So the reframe I want to leave you with is that your podcast is not failing. It's just not supported. It's not supported by a clear strategy, simple systems, or a structure that fits your season of motherhood. And the moment that you stop treating your podcast like extra content and start treating it like a strategic part of your business, then everything changes. So if this episode hit home for you, here's what I want you to know. You don't need to podcast harder. You don't need to try harder or put out more episodes, and you definitely don't need to burn yourself out to see results from your show. You do need a podcast that works with your life, not against it. And that's exactly what we build here on this podcast and also within my paid containers like the Moms Behind the Mic Society, which if you haven't heard about the Moms Behind the Mic Society, it is a great community membership filled with amazing mom entrepreneurs who are starting, growing, scaling their podcasts in the margins of motherhood like you. So if you want to learn more about Moms Behind the Mic Society, check out the link in the show notes. So yeah, if you found this episode helpful, make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss the next episode. And if you want more support in turning your podcast into a sustainable lead generator, definitely check out the Moms Behind the Mic Society. That is going to be your best bet for getting that support and the community that you need to make your podcast flourish. But yeah, I will talk to you in next week's episode. Thank you for tuning into Podcasting for Moms. I hope today's episode gave you the tools and inspiration you need to make your podcast work smarter, not harder. If you love what you heard, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. It means the world and helps other moms in business find the show. For more tips, resources, and support, head to podcastingformoms.co. Remember, you're not just building a podcast, you're building your legacy. Until next time, friends.